Okay, I would like to call this meeting to order of the Cape Cod Gateway Airport Commission. Today is Tuesday, December 16th, 2025, and we are meeting in the airport conference room, and it is 4 p.m. So that folks know, the meeting will be replayed via Xfinity Channel 8 or high definition Channel 1072. It may also be accessed via the Government Access Channel Live Video On Demand archives on the Town of Barnstable's website. So, the first order of business is the call to order. And in accordance with Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 38, Section 20, I must inquire whether anyone else is recording this meeting, and if so, to please make their presence known. I do know we have cable access here, and they are recording the meeting. Beyond that, I don't see anyone. So we can go to item number 2, which is roll call.
Chairman Flores?
Here.
Vice Chairman Gio?
Here.
Clerk Weil?
Here.
Commissioner Beerworth?
Here.
Commissioner Bailey?
Here.
Commissioner DeGeorge?
Here.
Commissioner Melo?
Here.
And Yarmouth Rep. Christine Greeley?
Here.
We have a full quorum today.
Great. Okay, item on the agenda, Pledge of Allegiance. Can I ask people to stand, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Item number 4 on our agenda is to approve the minutes of the previous meeting. I'm sure everyone has had a chance to. No, we haven't. There's no minutes.
Right.
It wasn't on the agenda.
I was hoping that they would be complete, but
Okay.
I hoped.
Okay, so we can go from item number 4 right into item number 5, public comment. Is there anyone here from the public who would like to speak? I'm not seeing anyone. We will move right to the commissioner's response, which is item number 6, and not needed, and go into the subcommittee reports. The first one is the Finance Subcommittee report, and the Finance Committee is comprised of Commissioners Weil, Bailey, and Gill. Commissioner Weil.
Okay, hello everybody. The Finance Subcommittee met on Tuesday, December 2nd. Meeting was called to order at 8:33. We had Commissioners Weil, Bailey, and Gio present via Zoom. We also had Betty Lutke and Suzanne Kennedy of the airport, and a new addition to the airport, Madison Hinckley. There was no old business. I'll go through the new business items relatively quickly, as they will be covered in detail in this meeting. The first item was FIN 1225-1, which was to review and approve HRP Associates Inc. Task Order 8, the development of a groundwater model for the airport and the surrounding areas. It was presented by a representative from HRP and discussed in detail, and we voted to move it to the full commission for discussion today. Moving on, FIN 1222-2. This is also to review and approve HRP Associates Inc. Task Order Number 9, Human Health Risk Assessment Services, and Brian Mass LSP's presentation. We received the presentation and it explained in detail about Task 9. We voted to move it to the full commission for further discussion and consideration. We moved on to FIN 1225-3, Task Order 10, 2026 PFAS Consulting Services. This is an annual regulatory reporting for PFAS on the soil and groundwater. This will be discussed at this meeting. We've voted to move it for further presentation at this meeting and discussion. On to FIN 1225-4 to review and approve Nantucket Studios advertising contract. Again, it's a contract for $11,720.64. We voted to move this for the full commission for consideration. FIN 1225-5, review and approve Canavarianis Gray Star advertising contract in the amount of $4,233.72. Again, that was reviewed, discussed, and voted to be moved to this meeting for consideration. FIN 1225-5, review and approve. I'm sorry, 1225-6, review and approve the manager's spending authority for both one-time items and emergency situations that were not, it'll be discussed in detail, something that has been brought before the commission before and discussed before, and this item will be presented as a full resolution for that item. We voted to move it to the full commission. FIN 7, F1225-7, review approve plane noise, aircraft noise, complaint software and license fee. We did not discuss it as it was not complete. It was tabled, as was FIN 1225-S to approve the travel leather. We didn't discuss it. That item was also tabled. We received project progress status updates, which will be discussed at this meeting, and the meeting was adjourned at 9:17 a.m.
Thank you, Commissioner Wild. Next report from the Infrastructure and Marketing Subcommittee, which is comprised of Commissioner DeGeorge, Bearwith, and Maho. Commissioner DeGeorge.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Infrastructure and Marketing Subcommittee meeting met on December 2nd at 10:30 in the morning. Commissioners DeGeorge, Bearwith were present. Commissioner Bailey was not present, and the meeting was held via Zoom. There was no unfinished business. Under new business, there were two items. INF 1125-1, review and approve safety enhancements in the vicinity of 660 Barnstable Road at two crosswalks that are perpendicular to Barnstable Road. And that will be discussed at this meeting this afternoon. The second item is INF 1125-2, review and approve location for the Cape Cod Gateway Airport logo on the air traffic control tower. And that, again, will be discussed today at the full commission. With no other business, the meeting was adjourned at 11:26.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner DeGeorge. Okay, moving into old business, item number 8 on our agenda. There is none today, so we'll go right into new business. And the first item is COM 1225-1. It's to review and approve HRP Associates, Inc. Task Order number 8, which is development of a groundwater model for the airport and surrounding area. I will entertain a motion. Commissioner Weil?
The motion is to approve HRP Associates, Inc. Task Order 8, development of a groundwater model for the airport and surrounding area in the amount of $81,550. And the sponsor is the Finance Subcommittee, and it may be acted upon.
Could I have a second, please?
Second.
Okay, the motion's been made and it has been seconded. Manager Nelson, would you report on this, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, all. And made a presentation. It's up there, and this is for this proposal of development of a groundwater model. And it's necessary to determine the vertical and horizontal extent of the airport's peripheral substance, PFAS plume in relation to other known and unknown non-airport related PFAS plumes. The groundwater model will focus on the following areas: Barnstable Water Pollution Control Facility, Barnstable Fire Training Academy, Mary Dunn Wells, Cape Cod Gateway Airport, Mar Wells, Airport Well, Straightaway Wells, Simmon Pond Well, Hyannis Pond Well. And the groundwater model, as you can see up there, that's just a general depiction of a model that indicates and shows the flows of water. It simulates and predicts how water and contaminants move through underground aquifers. And this is the purpose of this whole item, is to develop a model like that to show us how the PFAS is flowing for the airport plume and non-airport plumes. It'll help the airport to develop possible mitigation strategies, remediation decision-making, and if a permeable reactive barrier, or PRB, is necessary, where to deploy the PRB. It's an underground barrier filled with sorbent materials like activated carbon that actually absorb the PFAS materials and hold it. Other tasks included in the groundwater modeling development include reviewing municipal records to determine municipal drinking well pump rates and construction details, wastewater treatment plant discharge rates and design details, surface bathymetry, etc. And these are so that in the bathymetry is the science of measuring the depths and mapping of the underwater terrain. So this would enable us to understand more about how the aquifer is carrying these contaminants, where, and provide the possibility of a predictive model also. And also included would be a survey of the existing wells. So, any questions on the groundwater modeling? And that would be in the amount of $81,550.
Mike, just a quick question. These predictive models, how accurate are they?
The models with the amount of data we've received should have high reliability. We've been working in collaboration with Barnstable County and Town of Barnstable PFAS experts and licensed site professionals, and there's years of data from all the wells that are around Barnstable.
And in the motion, it was mentioned HRP Associates. Is that Brian Mass's group?
Yes.
And HRP standing for?
Brian Massa is the licensed site professional for the airport, and he's the one that would be spearheading this.
He's our point person for
Yes.
all of the.
Yes, and he's working in conjunction with the other groups also.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
You mentioned other entities like Firefighting Academy. Are they contributing to this as well?
The groundwater model, no. This is the Firefighting Academy and the water pollution control facilities were sources, potential sources of this. And to understand and formulate a groundwater model better, we need the entire picture of what's going on. There's conceptual site models that indicate, that are relatively predictive, but the science until recently wasn't there to actually produce this groundwater model to give us a real good visual depiction of where the flows are and where they possibly are going with all the data points. Because we have on this, just from the vicinity of the airport, most of these are wells over here, and there's wells up here associated with Barnstable County, and the town of Barnstable also has wells. Our wells are down here, all wells strewn throughout the vicinity. So we're getting all data points from all of those sources on and off the airport. You're welcome.
Just one final question. This is coming out of our budget. There's nothing coming in from the Cape Cod Commission? Or
Yes.
from?
So we had,
outside source?
back in 2022, an appropriation of a little over $1 million, and there's still over $600,000 left in that appropriation that's already been encumbered encumbered, so this isn't coming out of our
We're just
reserve.
drawing down from that.
It's drawing down from that. And this was the purpose to ascertain and, if possible, remediate airport sources.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Commissioner.
In our strategic plan, under Goal 5, which is identify and address environmental issues, and 5.3 is avoid chemical impact on groundwater and environment through the use of proper products. There's a task there about surveying chemicals in use at the airport. And I'm wondering if, while we have this contractor doing this environmental assessment and surveying, reviewing records and samplings, could they also go ahead and take care of that for us as well?
We've been we're in the process of starting a transition from the old foam that contains PFAS, and he's actually been analyzing PFAS-free foam for us to make that transition, and the first one would be with the new ARC truck that we should be taking delivery on within the next couple of months.
Right, but there's more than just foam. I mean,
Oh, it's more.
The whole idea of the task is surveying all the chemical products the airport uses. So I'm just wondering if he can do that.
Yes.
And if so, make sure you're giving yourself credit on progress in the strategic plan under
Yeah.
5.3.
So we really have to backtrack, because I'll have to go into old notes and look to see what the progress is, because that was actually approved a few months ago.
Yeah.
For assessing all of our tenants, and ourselves,
Yeah.
for the chemicals we're using and the impacts, and report to DEP.
So I mean, that's at least 10% right there, just by initiating the action to start that survey. So just make sure you guys are giving yourselves credit.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's an important issue. I don't think we have to dwell on the strategic plan at every meeting and every moment, but Commissioner Gale raises a good point.
Yes.
When something is being done, when something is being executed that impacts the plan, well, let's record it so that we know it and we move forward from it. So, thank you. Okay, any other comments from any members of the commission? Any other issues or concerns? Not hearing any, I will call this vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that is a vote. All right, we can move on to COM 1225-2, which is to review and approve HRP Associates, Inc. This is task order number 9. It's the Human Health Risk Assessment Services. Brian Masser, who's LSP presentation, he's been before us on numerous occasions. I will entertain a motion, Commissioner Bailey, relative to COM 1225-2.
COM 1225-2, motion to approve HRP Associates, Inc., task order number 9, Human Health Risk Assessment Services in the amount of $100,000. Sponsors the Finance Subcommittee, may be acted upon.
Okay, is there a second? Please?
Second.
Okay, motion's been made with a second. We can now discuss it. Manager Nelson, you're up.
All right. So a human health risk assessment to determine if the unregulated PFAS analytes detected in groundwater and surface water at and within the proximity of the airport pose a significant human health risk, specifically in cases where existing regulatory standards have not been put into effect. The risk assessment will include the following: the collection of 40 groundwater and surface water samples for laboratory analysis of PFAS and up to 5 surface water samples for sucralose. Sucralose is a synthetic sweetener that acts as a tracer for sanitary wastewater discharge from treatment plants and septic systems. A critical review will be performed to identify toxicological information, specifically reference dose to ascertain exposure on unregulated PFAS analytes. Unregulated PFAS is defined as PFAS analytes that have no regulatory standard. So at this time, Mass DEP isn't even acknowledging any of the contamination that they may be causing. So this will help us to guide further actions also. A completion, also included will be a completion of a method-free risk assessment, which is site-specific by toxicologists certified by the American Board of Toxicology. Completion of a stage one, environmental screening to determine if the unregulated PFAS analytes pose a risk to the environment. And that's really the most important part. If we can ascertain whether or not they pose a risk, and hopefully they don't, and that's why they've been unregulated all these years. And so that's the end of that. Any questions for the human health risk assessment?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Mike, are we doing this so that we're being proactive?
Yes.
Because other people aren't doing it? And
Yes.
was this brought up by HRP?
Yes, it was, and to my knowledge and Brian's knowledge, no one else in Eastern Mass at least is taking charge on this. There's been a few outside of Massachusetts that he's aware of, and he'll probably be leveraging some of that information and data to help us identify this level of risk, if any.
And the time frame on task number 8 and task number 9, what is the time frame?
Risk, the groundwater modeling hopefully will be within the next 30 days,
Okay.
35 days. 'Cause we would like to be able to present some of this, but I don't think it's gonna meet the January information meeting for sure. But it's, the task number 1's gonna be challenging just because of the amount of data. So I'd really give it a couple months on that. The human risk assessment, really, same thing, making sure we deliberately gather the data and analyze it properly. And just going to the labs can take upwards of 3 weeks to get results back.
Well, I think it's critical, because as a commission from the beginning, when this was first discovered years ago, we've taken this as a very serious, critical issue, and we've expended a lot of our budget
Yes.
on it. And so I want to be sure that the public, who obviously has a vested interest in well water, as well as how we are attacking, if you will, the PFAS problem,
Yes.
is made aware of. So that's why I asked the question at some point. I know we have a general meeting coming up in January, but subsequent to that meeting, it'll be critical that we share as much knowledge as we learn and go through the process.
Yes.
Any other questions or issues of concern from anybody? Okay, the motion has been made, it has been seconded. I will call the question. All those in favor of approving COM 1225-2 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that is a vote. Let's move on to COM 1225-3. This is task order 10. It's 2026 PFAS Consulting Services. Commissioner Gio, would you make that motion, please?
This is a motion to approve HRP Associates, Inc., Task Order 10, 2026 PFAS Consulting Services in the amount of $168,200. It's sponsored by the Finance Committee, a subcommittee, and it may be acted upon.
And is there a second, please?
Second.
Motion's been made, and seconded. Okay, discussion, Manager Nelson?
Thank you. And this item, the airport is required to conduct biannual regulatory reporting to maintain compliance with the Massachusetts contingency plan. The following services are included in the 2026 PFAS consulting services. The collection of up to 80 groundwater and/or surface water, parentheses, this is in addition to the 20 of those detailed in the risk assessment task, to document the extent and stability of the airport's PFAS plumes. So, in other words, is it, as far as stability, is it breaking up or is it relatively stable, traveling in unison? Also, environmental forensics to distinguish airport-related PFAS to non-airport related PFAS plumes. Because we really want to make sure we're differentiating our PFAS plumes from other entities' PFAS plumes. So we're taking action on definitely remediating whatever we can of the airport's responsibility.
How do they differentiate whether it's our plume or if it's the fire academy, for example, that's been closed for years?
So it's, my understanding, it's no different than blood typing or DNA analysis. We all have unique signatures, especially with DNA. And the forensics came up with ways to characterize the different signatures of each PFAS plume. So if we were using, a certain fire foam that is from Acme Inc. And the firefighting, or the Fire Training Academy was using one from John Doe Inc. They have very different signatures, and they're able to identify which one is my understanding, is closest, differentiating the blue pen from the yellow highlighter.
I ask it because I know in the past, there's been talk about from the town itself lawsuits against 3M, and 3M was the company that we bought all of the PFAS. So if we bought it from 3M and the county bought it from 3M, weren't we buying the same thing?
It would appear so in that regard.
So could you still differentiate who's blue
But I
is?
don't believe the firefighting foam was
Okay, I don't
being
know.
bought by a different, and to my knowledge also, the the Fire Training Academy was inviting people and firefighters from all over the
They were.
Yes, so there was a mix of different localities, towns, and using different foams.
Okay, that building was used for many, many things. That's where one used to take their boating license way back, that's right. So, and they'd be putting out fires, and they'd be drinking water from the buffalo that was inside, who knew? Anyway, all right, are there any other questions, issues of concern from any of the commissioners?
Just a couple more notes on
Okay,
it.
sure. Yep.
Yes. So in critical part of this is the GIS mapping to monitor and depict graphically the vertical and horizontal extent of the airport PFAS plumes over time. And that's different than the groundwater modeling, where you're just reporting to Massachusetts on what it looks like now. And this is more snapshot and not predictive. It's a very static, here's where we are now. Regulatory reporting to Mass DEP biannually to document the airport's ongoing response to PFAS as required by the Massachusetts Contingency Plan, and prepare a PowerPoint presentation for public presentation of the PFAS data, which we've been doing, as you alluded to, for years.
And this is all state-related versus federal. There's nothing that comes to
Yes.
us from the FAA or through the federal Environmental Protection Agency. This is all Massachusetts-related.
Yes.
Okay. Any other comments from anybody? Any questions? Not hearing any. Motion's been made with a second. We'll call this item COM 1225-3. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that is a vote. Okay, next on the agenda is COM 1225-4. It is to review and approve Nantucket Studios terminal advertising, rendering and contract. Commissioner Bailey, would you read that, please?
COM 1225-4, excuse me. Motion to approve Nantucket Studios terminal advertising, rendering, and contract in the amount of $11,720.64 to the airport over 3 years. Sponsors the commission, may be acted upon.
Is there a second, please?
Second.
Okay, motion's been made with a second. Manager Nelson, could you report on this, please?
Yes, I did make one mistake on the agenda item. Previously, at the October 21st meeting, the rendering was actually approved and moved forward with the pricing. So this is really just the advertising contract. I picked up on that mistake due to help with Sean a little while ago before the meeting. So, thank you, Sean.
So
So
clarify that. So what are we actually voting for?
Just approval of the contract.
As opposed to,
there's no money involved?
Well, we're receiving money, that was already discussed in the October meeting, so.
Well, I just want to make sure we're dealing with the correctly worded motion.
Yes, so the motion is just crossing out rendering and.
So we're just dealing with the contract?
Yes.
Okay. I would ask Commissioner Bailey to reread that motion.
Amending COM 1225-4, amended motion to approve Nantucket Studios terminal advertising contract in the amount of $11,720.64 to the airport over 3 years. Sponsor is the commission, may be acted upon. I assume that's the finance
In a second, please?
Second.
Okay, so we have amended that to read appropriately. Any other comments or questions or issues of concern? Not hearing any, we'll call the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that approves COM 1225-4. Moving on to COM 1225-5. This is to review and approve the manager's spending authority where a specific activity is not specifically covered by a contract amount or commission vote. Commissioner Weil, would you make that motion, please?
Yes, this is a motion to approve manager spending authority where a specific activity is not specifically covered by a contract amount or commission vote for an approved and budgeted program item in the amount not to exceed $9,999. The sponsor is the Finance Subcommittee, and it may be acted upon at this meeting.
Okay, motion's been made. I'll entertain a second.
Second.
Okay, discussion. Manager Nelson.
Thank you. So, really, if I can, turn this over to Commissioner Weil for discussion on this.
Yeah, we run into occasions during the year when Mike came aboard where there were items of a small amount being presented, and it became obvious to a number of us that those things didn't necessarily need to be brought to the commission every single time, so we want to streamline this. And then the magic became, well, how much should we give discretion to the manager? So the Finance Subcommittee discussed it. Before that, I discussed it with the manager to get input into the kinds of situations that we were talking about. This is, not a regular item, but it does come up. And with feedback from the subcommittee members, feedback from management, we came up with the amount of $9,999, and that amount was to not violate any regulations or spending problems. So we wanted to bring that to the full commission for approval. We just think it makes sense to streamline things. It's a small amount in a $16 million expense budget that we have.
Any comments from any members of the commission?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Commissioner Gill.
So the third bullet on the Finance Subcommittee speaking notes under this agenda item, which is been 1225-6. Commission has requested a formal policy be implemented to memorialize the manager's spending authority and responsibilities. Since I've been on the commission, I've noticed that we make policy decisions, and then they're kind of lost into the minutes. So if you want to be able to figure out what policies we have in place or don't have in place, would have to go through months and months and months of minutes to find certain things. And we really should have these types of things memorialized in a policy statement that's numbered and dated. I was kind of hoping on this item when we made that comment that what would be presented to us at the full commission was actually the policy statement, not just an agenda item or a motion to be approved. So for this and the next agenda item, I request respectfully that maybe the next meeting we can actually have a draft policy statement that, again, is numbered and dated. And it can be the beginning at this point forward, making sure that whenever we make policy decisions, we have policy statements that will be eventually placed in a single binder that will be available for us.
So we can vote on both of these today?
Yes.
Subject to the beginning of a policy book, and I've said this before to Manager Nelson, that we don't have a specific policy handbook where if there's an issue or a crisis or something that happens at the airport, where we can point to, this is policy number X, Y, and Z, because our primary role as commissioners is to set policy. So we need to begin to develop a policy book that outlines specifically what, and we're not reinventing the wheel. I mean, this is something that through the Airport Managers Association, they actually have one, a sample policy handbook that we could take a look at and cherry pick what we thought was important to us and add or delete information, but it's a good point. It's something that we need across the board. So we can move forward with these, subject to that coming forward at the next meeting.
Yeah, with all due respect, if you'd like to, it's gonna take a while to, even if there is a template out there, it's gonna take a while to go through all the stuff with everything else going on right now.
Right,
Just-
well, I'm only talking about these two right now.
Yes.
Not everything
Just
else,
these two.
just
Yeah.
these two items. Okay. All right, so this is COM 1225-5. Any other comments, issues, concerns? Not hearing any, I will call this vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. And that is subject to coming back with this begins the policy handbook, if you will.
Right.
And Sean, I'm sure that probably will become your responsibility. Moving on to the next item, this is COM 1225-6. It's to review and approve manager spending authority to issue funds to address an emergency situation. Commissioner DeGeorge, would you make that motion, please?
Yes, COM 1225-6, motion to approve the manager's spending authority for a specific activity is not specifically covered by a contract amount or commission vote to issue funds to address an emergency situation in the amount not to exceed $9,999. Sponsored by the Finance Subcommittee and may be acted upon.
And could I have a second, please?
Second.
Okay, additional discussion between Manager Nelson and Commissioner Weil?
Well, I'll speak on the item. This got added to the discussion because although there are some things that come up that are specific things that are not in the contract, we thought we should also cover situations that come up out of the blue. If there is some action that happens as a result of an incident happening at the airport that needs funding immediately, we wanted to make sure that the manager had the ability to dispense those funds. I cannot personally think of a specific item that you might need to do it for, but this is just to cover our bases, and this is the manager specifically has the ability to approve, authorize, and spend that amount of money and then bring it to our attention.
Any other comments or questions or issues? Okay, again, item 1225-6, we're going to approve this item this evening, but it will be subject to, at the next meeting, coming back with the beginning and the start of a policy handbook, which will identify these two items. So with that being said, I will call this motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that is a vote. Okay, item CON 1225-7. This is to review and approve safety enhancements of replacing 2 stop signs with solar-powered LED stop signs on Barnstable Road next to 660 Barnstable Road in the Atlantic Aviation roadway. Commissioner Mayhew, would you please make this motion?
Motion to approve safety enhancements of replacing 2 stop signs with solar-powered LED stop signs on Barnstable Road next to 660 Barnstable Road and the Atlantic Aviation roadway in the amount not to exceed $4,000. Sponsor Infrastructure and Marketing Subcommittee may be acted upon.
And could I have a second, please?
Second.
Okay, motion's been made with a second. Manager Nelson, could you report on this, please?
Thank you. On the screen here, this building between 2 and 4 is 660 Barnstable Road, and Barnstable Road runs, in this instance, north to south here. And where location number 2 and location number 3 are, those are stop signs on the northbound and southbound side. This is the Atlantic Access Road over here. So the proposal is to help speed mitigation, placing LED stop signs here and here, so that and this is coming out of Atlantic, Barnstable Road runs perpendicular. Going southbound, this would be an LED sign over here for higher visibility. And this stop sign will be replaced with an LED stop sign also for higher visibility. And the solar power would hopefully last quite a long time. I do not know how long they last, but I've seen a lot of solar powered signs. They don't draw a lot of power, and they've been around for 4 or 5 years, the ones that I go through. And that is the motion to replace those stop signs there. Questions?
Okay, any questions, issues? The only thing I would advise is that whatever is the solar entity that is bought, that it's high-end, because there was a time when I was a town council and we had a slow sign on Mary Dunn Way, Mary Dunn Road, excuse me, and it was forever failing. And I would get call after call after call, and through the DPW, we enhanced, if you will, the quality of that solar piece that goes on top so that it lights it up. They also have these installed at, they had new ones installed when they did Finney's Lane over, going between 132 and 28 all the way down. They have them a couple of locations, as well as on Independence Drive, where you go into Everly, the Everly apartment complex. There's one on each side there also. So, and they seem to be working fine. So whatever brand that might be, it might be something to check with Director Santos,
Yes.
or whomever is doing that in that particular division. We're doing this ourselves. It has nothing to do with DPW, correct?
Yes, this roadway here is owned by the airport.
Right.
So the DPW said, they did advise, and before they knew, the intern I was working with knew we owned it, they said, yeah, that would be approved, no problem, because there are speed mitigation problems and challenges in this whole stretch.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, that's why we have those large, they're not actually aprons, they're tables.
Yes.
I mean, sometimes if you're daydreaming and you're going a little bit over 20, you do a big clunk.
That'd be a dream.
Okay, any other comments, questions on item COM 1225-7? Not hearing any, I'll call the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that is a vote. Next on the agenda, COM 1225-8, it is to review and approve safety enhancements of upgrading the existing crosswalk and associated signage at the crosswalk between 660 Barnstable Road and the landing at Hyannis. Commissioner Bearwith, will you make a motion, please?
Certainly. Motion to approve safety enhancements of upgrading the existing crosswalk and associated signage at the crosswalk between 660 Barnstable Road and the landing at Hyannis in the amount of $0. Sponsor, Infrastructure and Marketing Subcommittee may be acted upon.
Have a second, please?
Second.
Okay, motion's made with a second. Manager Nelson?
This safety enhancement is on Barnstable Road, just a little ways down from the stop sign. There's now a crosswalk here. This is building 660 Barnstable Road, and this is the landing area over here. And there's actually now a crosswalk that was put in when the stairway was put in over here. And from where you'd be coming from for the landing, this is where Old Navy, Five Below, and Supercuts is. As you walk to the left of Supercuts, there's a crosswalk over here. Back access loading road leads to the sidewalk that leads also to Barnstable Road. So as you walk along here on this concrete pavement, down the stairs onto Barnstable Road, and there's the beginning of the crosswalk. There's the new stairs that were installed approximately 2.5 years ago. And here is an existing crosswalk sign, and that stop ahead is for one of the LED light stop signs that'll be put in. And from the other direction, where the landing's on the right, crosswalk ahead, and this would be the sign. So this is getting enhanced, that would be enhanced, as is this sign would be enhanced. And that will, and the reason it's no cost to the airport is because that's, WS Development has volunteered to do it, since they profit also from
Sure.
increased safety at that area.
And when you say enhancements, what exactly is the enhancement?
So they're going to be more reflective, higher reflective material. They're going to be installing, and I apologize, I forgot the slide, with the enhanced markings for the crosswalk, instead of being just the parallel crosswalks, it's the perpendicular, big, wide, white bars that they will be installing or painting on the surface.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
they,
that was my question.
there's a lot more visibility with those.
Well, the price is right. The intent is good. So that being said, any other questions or issues? Not hearing any, we'll call this vote for COM 1225-8. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That is a vote. Before we move off of crosswalks and painting, have we decided anything with the crosswalk that we put in a few years ago for Pond Avignon, where they have those 6 or 7 parking places? There's a crosswalk there. That's not very good.
So I went back and forth with the DPW after that, and more work needs to be done. Their opinion is, don't put a crosswalk there, because there's actually 4 crosswalks in that area.
Mhm.
The 3 that we went through with the infrastructure meeting that cross the airport access road, and then the crosswalk that goes between that and Gull Air, and then from Gull Air to Pond Avion. And then on the other side of Hinckley Road, where you exit the parking lot from the parking lot attendant area, there's also a crosswalk that goes across the street there
Mhm.
to the crosswalk that crosses Hinckley Road to Pond Avion. So this one would be, so there's actually 5 existing crosswalks there.
So if someone parks in one of those spots, they have to walk 10 to 15 to 20 feet either to the right or to the left to go across the crosswalk, as opposed to getting out of your car, walking the front 2 feet and crossing the street. Most people are not gonna walk to that crosswalk, so I would totally disagree with the DPW recommendation.
Well, I'm working with them,
Yeah.
so, but it's like this issue's been on the agenda, I think, for 3 or 4 months now.
Yeah.
These things take
But
time.
I'm thinking we should have something simple.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on, item COM 1225-9. This is to review and approve the Cape Cod Gateway Airport price, logo design, associated electrical installation, and location of the logo on the southwest, which is the rotary side of the air traffic control tower. Commissioner Weil, would you make that motion, please?
Yes. The motion is to approve the Cape Cod Gateway Airport price, logo design, associated electrical installation, and the location of the logo on the southwest rotary side of the air traffic control tower in the amount not to exceed $40,000. The sponsor is the Infrastructure and Marketing Subcommittee, and it may be acted upon.
Could I have a second, please?
Second.
Okay, motion's been made with a second. Manager Nelson, would you report on this, please?
Yes, sir. So up on the board is the Cape Cod Gateway logo and the position on the tower facing the southwest side of the tower. So you have full visibility from the rotary and pretty much from Barnstable Road as you pass or I should say approach the airport plaza on the other side of Route 132. And Route 28 approaching it, and Route 132 Iana Road in the vicinity of the Bamboo Restaurant. And the logo 8-foot sign, and it was talked about possibly taking the logo of Cape Cod off of it and just go pure lettering to maximize the size of the lettering for the most visibility from the distance of the roads leading up to.
Right, I did bring that up. The lettering has to be big enough that you can see it from the rotary, and I'm not
Yeah,
sure. that
The only
works.
challenge with that is the space between the windows. 'Cause
Mhm.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Mike, can you expand a little bit on what halo lit means? Because if this is a backlit, this
It's
is a
a
lighted
backlighting,
sign,
and the.
I think that the lettering is gonna show up rather than, just the way we're looking at it right now, there's no backlight behind it.
No, but I'm just saying, is the lettering large enough? Like if you drive
Right.
around the airport, you look at Griffin Aviation, you look at the sign, Cape Cod Gateway Airport that's on the front of our brick building.
Yes.
It has to be, in order to see it, pretty much has to be close to that. Even where the Gull Airline, where they put up
Yeah.
their new sign, it has to be almost foot.
So
Unlike,
the-
because if you drive up 28 coming from the east side of Yarmouth, the sign at Mary Dunn Road, which has the logo, I mean, it's difficult to see.
Yeah.
At least it is for me, maybe my eyes aren't as good as others, but it's just not big enough.
Is that lit too?
No.
That's what I'm saying, is that it's, the backlighting is what's gonna make.
Yeah, I just wanna make
the
sure.
contrast that allow the letters to be read.
If they're big enough, that's my only issue.
Yeah.
That's, so,
If it wasn't lit, I'd agree with you, but being that it's backlit, I think that's gonna help.
I assume that when we do the research on this with the sign company, that they'll be able, there must be standards that they know you can see from point A to point B a distance without straining one's eyes. Because I'd hate to spend money on a sign that nobody can see in a distance. It's kind of foolish.
Yeah.
So I guess what I'm saying is that I'm not wed to the logo, I'm not wed, what I'm wed to is Cape Cod Gateway Airport,
Yes. So.
as opposed to the Cape logo, if that's
So even if
feasible.
it meant-
So you just gotta make sure it's as big as it can be.
So going horizontal on all the lettering. and-
Well, I'll leave that up to, you should come back to the subcommittee.
Yes.
On infrastructure to look at different examples that I'm sure when we put it out for a bid, people are gonna come back with different ideas, but when you send the bid out, make sure that they're aware of that. I mean, because obviously, when we sent the bids out the last time, that sign should have been bigger, is, I guess is where I'm coming.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Commissioner Lehman.
I don't want to throw a wrench in this whole thing, but do we have to have a logo? Why can't we just have the lettering like we have on the front of it?
That's what I asked, that's what I asked. It doesn't, like, I don't think we're wed to anything in particular until we see something, but it has to be visible from the distance. I think that's the
Yeah,
critical
that
issue.
disc.
Whether it's backlit, front lit. I'm not a sign expert, that's why we're putting out a bid for it.
I'm talking about eliminating that whole disc.
No, I understand.
Yeah.
I hear you, yes.
Yes, too.
I am too.
Yeah.
I meant, yeah, I'm referencing the sign that's out front here, exactly.
Good idea.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I think it's a great idea that we ask the sign company to come up with different concepts.
Correct.
Back to the infrastructure subcommittee. I think that what we're trying to, why we landed here was because there's a branding thing that we're trying to do here. We're trying to be
Agreed.
consistent in our branding.
I agree.
So your point earlier also about sign companies should know distance-wise, a sign this size, you know, how clear is the lettering gonna be from the rotary type thing? If we could get that information as well to the infrastructure subcommittee meeting, I think that would be helpful.
Okay, this is Con 1225-9. Is there any other discussion or questions from anybody on the commission? Not hearing any, I'll call this question. All those in favor of approving Con 1225-9 as written, signify by saying aye.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Point of order. So the motion is to approve a logo design, and if we're going to change the logo design, we shouldn't be making this motion.
Table it.
Yeah.
I'll do whatever the wish of the commission is. We can table this until we have more to look at from the sign companies. If I'm comfortable with that. Okay, so we will table Con 1225-9, subject to further information that you'll bring us in terms of types of signs, whether they're backlit, it's just lettering, whatever the case might be, so the infrastructure committee can have a good round of meetings on it and come up with a recommendation.
Should we have a vote on the record to table it? Because
Sure.
the motion was made and seconded, so we need to.
Correct, so
yeah.
we will amend that. Would you put that in the form of a motion, Commissioner Keel?
Actually, I move that we table.
Right.
Commission item 1225-9 until we have further information from the infrastructure subcommittee
Is it-
moving forward.
Okay, is there a second on that?
I'll second that.
Okay, any discussion on that? Not hearing any. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That is a vote. Okay, that concludes, if you will, all of the various motions from infrastructure and marketing, as well as finance and other information that has been discussed. We can now move on to item number 10, which is a report of special committees. Representative Greeley, do you have any reports from Yarmouth that you would like to share?
Well, as I sort of sound like a broken record at every meeting, but in conversations with Bob Whitmire for the town, again, concerns about when the roundtable will take place, about wanting to see it move from a 5-mile circumference to a 10-mile circumference. and making sure that our consultant, Ron Price, is included in it. I have been hearing, at least from a bunch of people contacting me, and I think they've been trying to contact the office here, real concerns about a lot of the training flights that appear to be taking place, because they're just flying sort of everywhere for, you know, an hour or two at a time, quite low at times, and people are very, very concerned about it. And I don't know, you know, if in the noise reports if that's being reported or not, but I'm certainly hearing a growing dissent from a lot of areas of Yarmouth. It isn't just from down in West Yarmouth, it's from, you know, up in South Yarmouth and everything else. So I also have heard things from people who said, you know, they've been standing at, you know, TJ Maxx and thought the plane was only 50 feet over them when it was landing. So there's been a lot of sort of growing concern from a lot of people. So I think getting that roundtable really going and really taking a look at what needs to happen is very important, and that's according to, you know, Bob Wittenauer, also on behalf of the town.
Okay.
Thank you.
I would ask Manager Nelson relative to that roundtable that we had discussed a few times, what is the status?
And I'll pass that on to Sean.
Okay.
Sean, thank you,
All right, so, okay, so right now, I just want to let you guys know, when it comes to noise abatement, we are very concerned with that. We want to make sure that everything is getting addressed and that we're putting our best foot forward to get good information. So to the committee, just to give you an update, we are working with 2 companies right now they have tracking capability of airplanes a lot more accurate than what's public, okay? And what I mean is I want to make sure that when we address something that we have as best information, as accurate information as possible. So we are working with 2 vendors right now. We're in the process of testing the equipment, and I know we talked about having plots of like the routes, all that stuff, and that's what this software will do, all right? We are looking to have that at the next subcommittee meeting to present that to you guys of what we come up with. As it relates to the roundtables, one of the things with what we're doing with roundtables is I'm working with the people to update the website so we have this populated on the website. And I have been reaching out to the towns, starting making the connections. But before we really go full bore with this, I want to make sure that we have a good platform that we can be as transparent as possible and we can give you the proper updates right now. So I'm still working with the company because we're having a little difficulty getting it on the website so it can work properly. So we will get that rendered and get it up on the website so at any time you guys can look at it of where we stand with that. Once it is up, I will send out the link to you guys so you guys know when it's updated, all right? Once that platform is up, then we will start really populating and starting all these subcommittees, okay?
So any member of the public
Yes.
will be able to access our website and see this in real time data?
Yes. And that's what, and one of my first meetings here, I said we want to be as transparent as we can because we are here for the public. Everybody has an opinion and I want to make sure all their concerns are addressed. But before we go, all these companies, I want to make sure that the platform is operational so we have a good working document.
Is there a projected cost for this?
To
A ballpark figure for the software that we're looking at?
I do not have those numbers for you, but the next subcommittee, we will have those numbers for you.
Because if we're going to absorb this, it might be something that we could, through Representative Greeley, ask Yarmouth to contribute to the cost because it's for all of us. Might something to consider.
Well, what it is that they voted money actually for the hiring at the town meeting for the hiring of the consultant, Ron Price. So I don't know that they have money to generally put to any other part of a project, but definitely for the participation of Ron Price was my understanding of the town meeting vote. Yeah.
So what the airport administration will do, once we feel stronger of what company we want to go with, we will get the numbers and then we will present the numbers.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman? Sean, Katie had said, we have an existing contract, right? And Katie had said that the company we have the existing contract with is much more accurate than people who are using the
Flight 24.
FlightAware,
Yep.
whatever. Are they one of the companies that
Yes.
are being considered,
Are-
and what is our cost for them at this point?
Okay, so I don't have the cost for that, and I'll be honest with you, so my apologies on that. So one of the companies that we are looking at, that we have a contract with, this is an additional thing that the company says they can do, okay? But we wanna make sure that when they say, oh, we can do it, have they done it before? So that's what we're doing. We're also looking at another company to compare to make sure, which product is better. Because a lot of times the company says, oh, we can do that. We don't want them to develop, we want them to already have it. So that's what we're researching right now, looking, making sure that the technology they have and what they're saying is accurate and it meets the airport's expectations.
Would that require us to change the existing contract as well?
I don't
If we
think-
went with the other company?
If we went with the existing company, I believe it's just a additional service. So it'll be like you want 2 subscriptions, now you have an additional
Right.
thing.
But-
And for the other part, if we go with the other company, I would have to kind of defer because I don't know the price of that yet.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
So, as Commissioner Wheel had reported out in the Finance Subcommittee speaking notes, that there was an agenda in the Finance Subcommittee to review and approve plain noise aircraft noise complaint software and licensing fees that was tabled because they needed more information. So, that's what they're saying, is that they're still working on this stuff. My concern is this: that's coming up with information that the airport passes to the public. The real fundamental purpose of establishing a work group or roundtables is for the airport to hear concerns from the public. And I'm very concerned that we're waiting for software to establish these roundtables and work groups to start a dialogue with the community. I don't think we need software to do that. What you shared with us about what you're looking into, you could have shared at a work group or a roundtable. So I think it's important that we start moving forward with this and actually start meeting with the public.
The efforts are in parallel, because Sean has been reaching out to different communities. In fact,
Yeah.
regarding the radius around the airport, he has reached out to every village on Cape Cod.
But I'm talking
And
about
town.
actually setting up a meeting.
No, that's what he's working on, to make sure everybody has the opportunity to be part of this. But, yeah, but we have to work on the actual radius.
Discussion to cut it short, but I think you're hearing that this is an item of major concern for the members of the commission as well as for the
Yes.
Yarmouth representatives. So it's important that we move this along and get people inputting whatever their concerns and issues might be, and then having you come back and report to us. And
Yes.
then checking up also in the strategic plan,
Yeah.
a little check to make sure that, that we're staying on top of this.
And if I may add, before you get to Ms. Greeley, you set a date, you invite the people. The fact that not everybody may show up at that first one and you're doing more outreach doesn't stop you from having the first one. So, we need to avoid the appearance of letting perfect be the enemy of good. Right? Let's get going.
And with all due respect, like I said, and I've talked to Chairman Flores a lot about this, there's some challenges
Mhm.
been facing over the last 8 months, and it's a mountain. So we're getting through stuff.
Taking all of that into consideration.
Yes.
But I think it's something that, through System Manager Driscoll, that we can move this forward sooner than later. Commissioner Greeley.
Again, I've had concerns that I've expressed before, and people have too, that, there may be people using other systems out there. There's a couple of people who are doing things who've actually worked in aviation and who have had discrepancies with stuff supposedly the airport is reporting. I mean, I've told you physically,
Yeah.
it's come over my house, and instead it was shown as flying at a totally different path. And so I think that the whole issue is sort of going forward, thinking everything we have right now is good, I think is going to lead a lot of questions out in the public from a lot of these people. And when you see the huge increase in the number of complaints, it's because people are actually doing a lot of flight monitoring now with these things. So I think it's very important to get a really good system together. And one other question I have is, does the site for reporting noise concerns and everything, has anything changed in that in terms of an address or phone number or anything for noise complaints?
So on our website, we are going through the website and we are making stuff, we are updating numbers and contacts, so.
Okay, because someone had said that they had filed some complaints and it got bounced back to them.
Okay.
With an address they had used in the past, so.
We've had some things that we are, had to correct on the website, like
Okay.
some links that were not properly linking, so we
Okay.
are, that's one of my assignments right now, is to make sure that we have a good working website. And that's, part of that is not just noise complaint, but the whole
Sure,
website.
the whole, thank you.
Okay.
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 That answers the questions from Yarmouth.
Let's move on to updates. Manager Nelson?
Thank you. And this is a correction, at the October 21st, 2025 commission meeting, the American Airlines employment and deployment data was incorrect for the month of June 2025. The correct American Airlines employment deployment for June 2025 is 1,703 employments and 2,386 deployments instead of the incorrect data of 5,685 and 6,089 respectively. And the problem happened was the July numbers were put on June also. It was just replicated by accident. So this led me to start looking at the whole fiscal year. And as you can see up on the screen of employments and deployments, the numbers for Cape Air, September and June numbers were also incorrect. The actual numbers are up there, and originally reported for June on the top highlighted number was 475, and the corrected number being over 1,200. And also for the September number, 694 is reported, but over 1,000 actual employments were done that month. So
Who reports these numbers?
The airlines report them to
To
us. Yes.
So was the airline's mistake?
The Cape Air numbers, no. And all I did with America, we got late reports at the end of the year, and it seemed like they just duplicated the report for June and July. So I just asked them to re-report the numbers to me, and I received them a couple weeks ago.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Your question was if they reported to us incorrectly, and you said Cape Air, no.
Correct.
So they reported it correctly?
And we transposed it
Okay.
incorrectly.
Got it. Thank you.
You're welcome. And next item, following the successful conference in Hyannis, the Massachusetts Managers Association presented a donation in the amount of $1,500 in November to the Cape Cod Hunger Network, a regional nonprofit that provides essential food services across Cape and the islands. Thank you to Atlantic Aviation and the airport administrative staff for coordinating this fundraising effort. And also thank you to the Coast Guard Gateway Airport TSA personnel for their dedication to the airport by performing their duties every day during the longest ever federal government shutdown without receiving pay during that time.
That's commendable.
Yes. And we showed their.
It did impact though our tower, because our tower are not FAA employees, they're up with a private group, correct?
Correct, yes. And then the town of Barnstable had a years of service ceremony, and Art Jenner, who works in operations, 45 years, he's
Wow.
been working for the airport.
He must
It's
like his job.
absolutely incredible. And Christina Lonsberry, 30 years, and Hildy Rios, 25 years, were honored that day with many other town of Barnstable employees. But Art Jenner stood out. He was the winner on that day.
Well, there's a lot of cultural history there amongst those three people. It's
Yes.
something for you to make sure you absorb and take advantage of.
Yes.
Commissioner Haley?
What was Hildy Rose's job here at the airport? for the
He's
20
also operations.
Operations,
and
okay, thank you.
he's the, excuse me, fueling coordinator.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. On to the Cape Cod Gateway Airport 2025, fiscal year 2025, final budget presentation. There were 123 line items, 88 line items are expenses, 35 of them are revenues. And it was certified October 2nd of 2025. The expenses budgeted tracked through June 30th, 2025. The original appropriation, $12,839,593. And transfers and adjustments from the previous fiscal year, $1,618,583. For a revised budget for the fiscal year of 2025 of $14,458,176.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
For a second.
Yes.
Yes.
Those additional appropriations or transfers, is that mainly for fuel purchases?
I'd have to look at the actual breakdown of what those transfers were. I don't recall them off the top of my head. And I'll get you that information. And the expense summary, personnel costs, $3,119,497. Debts and transfers, $316,284. And I did add a note since the meeting. These are enterprise fund services chargebacks from the town, that the services they're providing for us, whether it's finance, insurance, all the services of the town, even DPW, things like that, and also interest on long-term debt.
Legal also?
Legal also, yes. And our operating expenses, $7,126,924, and capital outlay of $54,003 for total expenses of $10,616,708. And here's a graphical representation of our expenses, the biggest type categories, or aggregate categories, I'm sorry. And these are our largest expenses.
On the electricity charge, I'm just curious, what do we realize as a result of the solar farm that's out there?
That's coming into revenue. Approximately $658,000 and some change, if I recall correctly off the top of my head. And revenues budgeted. Original appropriation, $12,839,593. And because we don't provide services back to Barnstable, other than offering our spectacular air services in and out of Cape Cod Gateway Airport, there's no transfers the other way for revenue.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, Mike, can we go back to the first slide? What?
Oop.
Yep, one more, go forward.
Oh, sorry.
There we go, right there. So there's the 12,839,593, but then you have 1.6 as a transfer adjustment with revised at 14.4, but that slide you just showed us doesn't reflect that.
Oh, you are correct.
I'm also kind of confused by the use of negative signs in front of these values when it's revenue.
Me too, that's the way all of our reports
Credits
go.
are negatives and debits are positives.
Credits
This
are
is a
negatives.
1970 accounting system.
Boy, I think maybe we, 55 years old, we probably should update that.
Well, yeah.
This is all the.
I always get, when I first, I always got confused. Those are positive numbers,
Yeah.
why are they negative on the slide?
Yeah,
Well-
because traditionally, negative numbers are typically in parentheses, and then in later slides, we've got parentheses with a negative in front of it, which is a double negative, that means it's a positive, or, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's very confusing.
For revenue, negative is a positive.
For the sake of simple airport commissioners, difficulty translating that, and are not financial experts, maybe we can just get rid of the negatives with the revenues and just.
But it just got used to that. It's taken over 8 months.
For once a negative is good, I guess.
Yes, yes. So, yes, I'll have to look at that and
Okay.
correct that if necessary, one way or the other.
So appropriations without Is that just, that's either negative or positive, that's just a number?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because then you have the revenue at 16, I don't know if I'm mixing things up or not. One is budget, one is revenue.
Right.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, the budget is just like a weather forecast, we hope and we think.
Right, so that revenue, the 3.2 above appropriation actually is not true, because the appropriation is 14 point something, so that above appropriation is a little bit less than that.
To match the 14.
Yeah.
And charges for services, I did not use the negatives, I knew this was coming. If I did at the bottom, I should.
You were clairvoyant at the top. I lost it.
It's easier for the formatting, believe it or not using the negatives.
Yeah, I can imagine,
Mhm.
yeah.
So, those are the numbers for the aggregate categories.
I didn't say I liked it.
Graphical depiction. Yes, Norm helps me a lot.
You know what, they do that, so you have to hire accountants in order to be able to understand it.
And broken down to the largest revenue sources.
Okay, well, can I just interject just real
Yes.
quick? So Mark, I wanted to just go back, because I saw what you were saying, but we have a balanced budget, revenues and expenses. So the transfers and adjustments were expenditures, was under the expenses, and so it doesn't, so they're not part of the revenue?
Right, but when you, but later in that, you talk about appropriation, the difference in over and appropriation, and that's not correct, because the full appropriation is 1.4, not 1.2. I mean, I'm sorry, 12 point.
So the expenditure, so what you're looking at for transfers and adjustments was really what was rolled over, that was encumbered in the prior fiscal year that we hadn't spent yet?
What's the bottom number there?
That's for expenditures, the 14.
The budget, right? What did
Well,
you change?
it's not really a budget. Your budget was this, which matches your revenue budget. The transfers and adjustments was what was a continuation of the prior year that was appropriated in the prior year. The transfers and adjustments, the way that they show it on our reporting is, we still have open purchase orders for the prior year,
Uh-huh.
for like utilities, because we don't get the utility bill until the following month, but it's expenditure for that fiscal year, so it's rolled over into that year. So that's what you're looking at here. That included some of the prior fiscal year expenditures. And then this is just the revenue budget, which there was no transfer in of anything for the revenue
So
budget.
it's just the appropriation versus expenses? Okay.
Right, right. So your budget was a balanced budget originally, but those transfers in are what we still have in Munis. We still have a rollover from the prior year for expenditures to kind of clear out the utilities and whatnot, that even though we use them in June, we don't get the bills till July, so we have to roll that money in for the expenditure. So there is no addition under the revenues. There was nothing transferred in as additional budget for the revenues for a budget. But then
I
if you
understand
look
that.
at, if
But
you
I'll-
look at the actual revenues, we exceeded our budget for the revenues. It's just, it's the way that
As a
Munis-
carryover from the prior year, that's why
Yeah,
we
it's the
exceeded.
way that
It's a
Munis
carryover.
reports it for
That's how
those-
municipal budgets work.
Yeah.
But our
For the
numbers are always
expenditures.
certified by town finance, I assume.
Town finance,
Not
and
rules,
the final
operation.
numbers come from Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
Right. So I didn't want to compare expenditures and revenues for the budget without explaining that one line item of those transfers that basically is from, it's for those invoices that we are paying in July for the prior year.
So your bullet that says FY '25 revised budget 12.8, that's what we budgeted to spend?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the revenue is what we brought in versus what we budgeted to spend?
Yes.
Okay, and we're not counting the transfers, so the transfers was to take care of last year's stuff.
Yes.
That we're taking care of this year.
Yes.
So that's why, when we compare what we planned on spending against our revenue, we actually had a $3.2 million surplus.
Yes.
Okay,
Correct.
thank you, appreciate that.
Sure.
Yes, very, very much.
Sure.
Okay, continuing on?
And as you can see, jet fuel is the largest portion of our revenue. So summary of revenue versus expenses, grand total of $5,448,124. And then overtime, $290,000, and it was budgeted. Actual overtime expense, $324,694. Budgeted overage of almost 12%. The sum of salary and overtime budgeted was $2,406,724, and the sum of the actual salary and overtime, $2,315,041. So we actually came in for those two categories under budget, so the aggregate, we did well over there. It's just a matter of, we had a conversation during the finance subcommittee meeting of, overtime reasons, possible causes, but the bottom shows that compared to the 3 previous fiscal years, for whatever reason, the overtime budget went down relatively substantially, but having a comparison of the salaries and overtime combined, still did very well. So there's really nothing to be seen there, just adjusted going to the year coming forward.
And do we have, I know our overtime budget was impacted by a lack of personnel being employed. We had a lot of open positions. Are
Yes.
all of those positions filled now so that the overtime budget should not be as critical?
Yes, they've been filled. We did unfortunately lose Sandra. She left for something closer to where she lived, one of the custodians. We will be filling that within the next week and a half, 2 weeks. And we just have one issue filling a maintenance vacancy now, which shouldn't really impact us too much. The impacts right now to overtime were really Mother Nature and how much snow and ice and other conditions they're gonna throw at us for the next 2 months. But last summer, what ended up happening was we had the below number staffing, and painting for the airfield got delayed. So we used a lot of overtime last year in escorts for painting, escorts for other activities going on, and just trying to keep up with mowing and the fence line and everything else.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Just a comment on that, as far as overtime is concerned. You manage the airport, you guys do, right? You manage your personnel, and, if you take a look in the long run, if we're using overtime, that could have been filled by a full-time equivalent employee. The cost of the full-time equivalent employee is much more expensive than the overtime. So overtime, to me, is not a negative thing. It's an aspect of managing your personnel. So I'm not concerned about these numbers at all. Whatever you guys need to do, you do.
Thank you.
Well, I would only say within reason. Overtime is a critical issue, but it's something that has to be monitored.
But that's why I say they're managing their personnel.
Yeah, no, I
Right,
agree.
and that's all part of it.
Right.
Now, during payroll, now Sean does, Sue starts payroll, and then Sean reviews it, and then I still do a review just to see if we're in line with all the different categories of pay and differentials and overtime, so,
And you reported at the FinCom committee, meeting subcommittees on a regular basis too, I assume.
They get the reports. I haven't really spoke to it at any of the FinCom, but we can do that in the future going forward, yeah.
Jim Weil, if there's issues you can raise those.
He will be.
And jet fuel, because it is such a large expense, broke that down. But it's not as broken down that it's going to be in the future, because as you see the note on the bottom, it doesn't include fueling salary activities, the seasonals that get hired, that really 100% of the seasonal work for them is the fueling, outside of anyone we hire for maintenance, but that's a relatively easy breakdown for that. And the fuel for the fueling trucks, and there's also insurance, we have the insurance expense, depreciation norm we talked about during the finance meeting. So we're gonna start looking into that further and providing a better breakdown, so we really know what the costs are going forward as best possible.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
You know, Mike and I have talked, we've talked at finance subcommittee meetings and at commission meetings of a need to have a analysis of the fuel business done from a financial accounting perspective that brings in all of the expenses, including allocated expenses of staff time, insurance, a calculation of depreciation, even though that's not really looked at in the municipal world, to get a true picture. So it's an ongoing discussion with the hope of having something on a semi-annual basis prepared for the
Well,
committee.
you know, the more information we can get, the more accurate, the more easily understood it benefits not only the members of the commission, but the public in general, because $12 million isn't really a very big municipal budget, to be quite frank, but yet it's large enough that looking at details and looking at where monies are being expended and where revenues are coming in should be easily understood by everyone involved. And because we are a business, we're not just an airline. We rent property, we buy property, we own a shopping mall. I mean, there's all different kinds of access that normally airports don't do, and we do it all.
Okay, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
And what Commissioner Whalen just spoke of is Goal 8 in our strategic plan. And so, again, if you started having those conversations, make sure you're getting credit for that, for increasing your activity there.
We'll be up to it.
You can mark off 1%.
I think the message here is that on the strategic plan as a whole, that as we initiate whatever it might be that ties into the goal, which then is followed by the objective and then the task, along with a date and an indicator of success, that's something you should just think on a regular basis, because it helps us as a commission realize that the time and effort that we spend on putting that together was worthwhile, because so many strategic plans just go on a shelf and everybody forgets it. And I really want this to be addressed accordingly, because it credits you and your staff in terms of what's being accomplished. And it's a roadmap for us to know that what was important to us is actually being followed through and implemented. And if we see something that, 6 months into the fiscal year, nothing's happening in that particular goal, there might be a member of the commission that has a question on that and would want to know why. Why isn't anything happening there? And it's not going to be to discredit anyone, but it's us making sure that what it is we said we were going to do and hopefully get accomplished is actually a continuous action item, if you will. I'll leave it at that. And let you continue with,
That hurts my brain.
All dashes.
Tremendous.
So, fuel revenue, 10 million, 65,228. Dust settle. And revenues for expenses, not including those items we just talked about, yielded a profit of $5,374,028.
So in the future, we're agreeing, going back to that slide, we're going to take away the negative parentheses, so we'll look at it, we see it as a positive number, minus the expenses to know that what we're dealing with, correct? So we're all on the same
Math in
page.
my day,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, we just move that minus down to expenses and get rid of the parentheses.
Exactly. We're good to go.
So in comparison from fiscal year 2024 to fiscal year 2025, the difference was $1,952,565, or 57.1% improvement. A lot of that is due to margin improvement, really. And before I arrived here, there was a study done, someone you might be familiar with it, to increase the margins, and it was effective.
Yes.
And when I look at the comparative prices of Jet A fuel throughout the region, I usually take a 45-mile or 50-mile view from radius of New Bedford, so that includes as far north as Boston, out to North Central and Nantucket, Martha's Vineyard. We're very competitive, I think. We're definitely less expensive than Martha's Vineyard, Nantucket, and Boston, Providence. So doing well there.
Good.
Fuel sold by year. See, there was that softening in fiscal year 2022 to fiscal year 2023, and
Is
then a
that
gradual
COVID?
improvement.
It's COVID,
And by month, this is fiscal year 2025 that just passed, fiscal year 2024. 2023 and 2022 are neck and neck in there. So nice graphical picture of not only the success in the fuel volumes over the last few years, but also the seasonality of the fuel and sales.
And
Where
I
right
might-
now,
I might comment also, we had recognized, wasn't we recognized for our fuel, our long-term employee.
Art.
Art. Making a note that from a fuel perspective, there's lots of accidents that can occur. We've never had, thank God, knock on wood, we have not had an issue with fuel spillage, overfilling. And then the bogus complaint that we had a while back, that somehow we had a bad tank of fuel was proven to be untrue.
Yes.
So I mean, all in all, I think we've done a great job in the whole fuel arena.
Yeah, the team does an awesome job at maintaining the highest levels of safety
Safety,
and
yeah.
service to the aviation.
By bringing up, I wanna
community.
commend them
Thank
for-
you for bringing that up, because they play a vital role, as you can see, in the sustainment
Fuel
of this
stuff.
airport.
Yeah, it's a dangerous operation.
It is complimented highly by many of the users. Jeff Blue's done an audit on us, that fuel contamination issue. That company also did an audit on us, and the FAA in their annual inspection, all very, very high marks to the team in the program.
Knock on wood, we keep it going.
And that's it for the budget presentation. Any other questions?
Well, you have other items on your updates?
Yes.
I mean, I think we've spoken to the strategic plan, you know where we stand, what we want to do. Make sure that that's, I guess the best thing, that report is populated, if you will, so we know what we're doing and what we're not doing, and make sure that the commission is made aware of that, as well as the general public on the website.
And when it comes to that, I can go.
Comment about
And
it?
Commissioner Wall? Yes.
You know, I look at this and, you know, we have a lot of red. And I know you guys are really overloaded. The strategic plan was built, a lot of it was done before you got here. So I've been thinking about this since the 9/25 meeting and had a chance to look at all the detail. Mark has done a ton of work to put a lot of detail together. But I don't feel that we as a commission have provided the guidance that is needed to give you guys what you should be working on. So from a thinking point of view, I think the commission needs to think about coming up with 4 or 5 key objectives that are of the most importance to us to be focused on next, so that we can focus on it. I'm concerned that we're not focusing on some things that we should be focusing on. I have a personal preference, which doesn't have to be the commission's preference, but I'll use it as an example, excuse me, and that's electric aviation. That's blowing by us, and if we have an interest in it as a commission of being in the forefront of that and being prepared for it, we as a commission should be directing you to putting forth the resources to be involved in doing that. If the fuel business is something that is of utmost importance to us to focus on, we should be directing you to focus on that, so.
Yeah, the only thing I would add, I think as we put that strategic plan together, I think every one of the goals, along with the numerous objectives, were all critical. You can't do everything at once, obviously, so you're gonna cherry pick, like most companies and communities do. I think what Norm is suggesting is maybe through the subcommittee on infrastructure, or if we want to form a new subcommittee on strategic planning, then we can have a monthly meeting to make sure that we're all on the same page relative to that. And I'm happy to entertain that as a new subcommittee, if you so desire.
Well,
Yeah, Mr. Chairman?
Yes,
I'm
sir.
just raising it as an issue.
Right.
A couple of things. First of all, there has to be some flexibility in the strategic plan, because
Correct.
you guys are doing what you're doing, like, managing the airport, the day-to-day routines. I think I had suggested this before, that, at the beginning of a week, if you have a staff meeting, one of the agenda items is the strategic plan, and what are we gonna be working on towards this week? Another approach to this could be that, Mike is strategic and Sean is tactical, right? So Sean takes care of the day-to-day, while Mike is looking at tomorrow and saying, okay, on the plan, what can we start plugging into here? But the hope is that you guys manage it, not us.
Mhm.
But if there is difficulty getting traction on that, what Commissioner Wheel is saying is, okay, so if that's not happening, then we'll step in and say, okay, start focusing on this stuff. And I really would like to avoid that, right? Because we don't know what your day-to-day is, right? And that's a challenge. One of the things, I had asked to have a snapshot of this so that we can compare from month to month progress. If we could get an electronic version of the snapshot, not a printed page, it would be a lot easier than keeping track of pieces of paper. We can just refer back to it. But in the project highlight box, that's where you should think about listing what progress we've
Mhm.
made since last month, right? Just bullets of what you've touched and so on. In regard to the red, which I was also concerned about, I'm looking at what you have, and I'm thinking, this may be broken, because I think there should be some different colors down there. You've got 8 objectives on time, you've got 7 in progress, and I'm not seeing any color change here. So if I could ask you to send me the file, and let me double check it and make sure it's functioning properly, so that you are getting the credit that you're supposed to be getting here. And I have a couple of the comments real quick, if I
Sure,
if
please
I
do.
move on from that, okay. I like the consolidated packets. That's better than managing a bunch of paper and a bunch of attachments. That's a great improvement, Suzanne, so thank you for that. Just a quick check on where we are at with email accounts, because we had discussed that before. I don't know where we've landed on that. But after going through the training that we had, we realized that if we're using a personal email, then that's subject to,
FOIA.
no, I'm sorry?
FOIA.
Yeah, FOIA, right. We should have email accounts as commissioners at this airport. So I thought maybe we were looking into that, but I don't know if we were or not. But if you could check that out, that would be great. Controller staffing. And Mike, I know that you're sensitive to this because you lived it. But I have had some concerns about the level of controller staffing we have at our tower. And I know that the contractor's relationship is not with us, it's with the FAA. But we can communicate to the contracting officer at FAA if we have concerns about whether or not we have adequate staffing there or not. So I would just, like I said, I know you know that world, right, up there, you lived it. But if you have any concerns, I would highly encourage you to contact the FAA contracting officer for that contract and let them know how you feel. And finally, the peer reviews that you've been doing on your documents is showing up. So thank you for taking that extra step and doing that. And that said, there's a typo in the paragraph under item 13, adjournment, where it's supposed to say persons of interest, but it says persos of interested. So I think that's supposed to say persons. So that's it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yield back.
Okay, with all of that being said, I think, what's most critical here is that as you move forward with the strategic plan, that you give credit to whatever it
Yes.
is that the personnel are doing, because I don't necessarily agree that these should all be zeros, because you've implemented some things that aren't showing up, so.
Yeah.
And if I could just update you on that, because there's a lot more that's
Yeah.
going on. So the platform, because you want a digital copy, once it gets on the website, that's what I want to use as a portal for you guys, and that's where we will make updates, even if it's daily. So that's going to be the central portal, okay?
Right, but you can take this snapshot electronically, just this,
Yeah.
and send it to us.
Send it to us.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think also in support of what Commissioner Weil was referencing regarding the plan, like I've already said, there's lots of goals, lots of objectives, so if there's something that, I mean, we are a commission of 7 people, everybody individual personality, so we all look at things a little bit different, which is what the magic of this commission is, as far as I'm concerned. It's a terrific group of folks that volunteer a lot of time to make things happen in a most positive way. So I guess as we as commissioners, if there's an issue or if there is a concern relative to the strategic plan, with our new email addresses that we'll get at some point in time, we can send directly to you, Sean, just to raise your awareness that this is an issue, so that we don't, create a boondoggle at a commission meeting or one-on-one. We want this to be fluid. We're here to set policy and to not necessarily implement it. That's your job. You manage it day to day. That's why we hire both of you. We're here to set the policy and give guidance when guidance is needed, because we all have experience and expertise in particular arenas. And I know you've called me numerous times on a number of different issues. And if I can help, and I think every commissioner stands ready to do that. If you need support from us, you have to let us know too, because we're here to help out. Okay. With that being said, what else do we have here? Contracts, planning, do you want to report on any of these other issues?
There's noise. Sorry.
I thought we
did.
covered those already.
Yeah, okay, but there wasn't anything else, just because you had it noted, that's why I wondered.
And then really, and for sake of your time, there's nothing really to report right through the end of contracts. Everything's just moving along forward, especially in the winter time. Just hoping to get things signed and finalized as soon as possible. And I would like to thank anybody and everybody who donated to Toys for Tots. It was it was great at the airport, and we brought down a lot of toys into the DPW, and the town overall did a fantastic job. So I just wanted to give kudos to everybody for that. And tomorrow, Atlantic Aviation couldn't be here, so they asked me just to make an announcement that there's a holiday party at 6 p.m. at Atlantic Aviation for if you'd like to go with a guest. Just let Helene know or me know, and I'll pass the information along. And the last one is a PFAS announcement. There will be a public meeting at 4:30 p.m., January 14th, 2026, Town Hall, James H. Crocker Jr. Hearing Room, 367 Main Street, Hyannis, on the 2nd floor. And Brian Massa will be leading that, our site LSP.
And will that be an open meeting in terms of Q&A?
There'll be an open meeting. There'll be a presentation with Q&A.
Okay.
And we're looking over at the format now. It'll probably be questions as you deem necessary as they come up, most likely format. It'll be televised, recorded, and also Zoom access.
All right, moving on then to item number 11, which is any announcements from any of the commissioners. I have a couple of comments to make, but I'll hold mine unless somebody else has something else to say. Not hearing any. I would only once again wish everybody a wonderful holiday season, both members of the commission, all of our staff, and obviously the general public that is watching us on a regular basis, and let folks know that we're doing everything within our ability and our capacity to make sure that we run a tight ship here at Cape Cod Gateway Airport, with the support of a very, very talented commission, of which as chair could never do without the support I get from the folks to my right and the folks to my left. So thank you all very, very much. And that really brings us to item number 12. There aren't any unanticipated issues by me as the chair. So I will, before we adjourn, once again announce that our next meeting will be January 20th, 2026. It's coming quickly. So with that being said, I will entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second? Okay, motion's been made. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That is a vote. We are adjourned until January 20th. Excellent.